Welcome to Steel City Soliloquies, where we explore the past, present, and ongoing path of Pittsburgh through its 90 neighborhoods. I'm Ken, your host and prodigal Pittsburgher, who returned after 25 years to find a place that felt both eerily familiar and utterly unrecognizable. I've spent the last 5 years getting reoriented and reacquainted, and I use this podcast to help everyone keep up with and share the stories the city is spinning right now.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. As we start to explore the stories swirling around Pittsburgh, we need to understand where the storytellers are coming from. What does it really mean to be a Pittsburgher in the 21st century? I thought we'd sit down with someone who lives and breathes the culture here and can help us make sense of who and what we really are. So today, we're off to Allegheny West to talk with Brian O'Neill. Pittsburgh's been on an incredible journey over the past 3 decades. In many ways, it barely resembles a shell-shocked survivor of the 80s and 90s. Yet the essence of what keeps Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh remains strong. Joining me today to talk about that essence is Brian O'Neill. Brian's been a Pittsburgher since 1988. He spent 32 years as a columnist for the Pittsburgh Press and Post-Gazette before retiring in 2020. He's been a keen observer and interpreter of Pittsburgh for a long time. A few years ago, he put those thoughts into a book called The Paris of Appalachia. It paints a deadly accurate picture of what truly drives Pittsburgh and the region around it. And what better way to start our exploration of the path Pittsburgh is on than to talk to the guru himself. Welcome, Brian. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for calling me a guru. So what you want to know about, I think you want to know about how I came up with the name, the Paris of Appalachia?
Yeah, Pittsburgh has 30 nicknames.
Right.
That's not one I've ever heard. In fact,
Yeah.
I've never, until I came back, I never associated the city with Appalachia.
Yeah, all these hills aren't just on loan from Morgantown, as it turns out. Yeah, at the time I was writing the book in around 2008, I was hearing occasionally the Paris of Appalachia as sort of a put down, like a dismissive, toughest guy in the glee club kind of thing. But I couldn't figure out why that should be a put down, because Paris is beautiful. They don't know how to pronounce Versailles, but it's beautiful, and Appalachia is beautiful. It just gets a bad rap. So rather than run away from that, I embraced it, and I think it's caught on since as a nickname. I did not coin the term, though.
Oh, you didn't?
No, it was a guy, as far as I could tell, it was a guy named Bruce Mountjoy who has a bluegrass show on the public radio station.
Okay. So I lived a while in Raleigh, where bluegrass is king. He would not have meant that as a put down.
Right.
Yeah. He would have. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Pittsburgh would have been the shining city on the hill. Okay.
It is the largest metropolis in what is defined as Appalachia by the United States.
So we're a big fish in some pond these days.
Yeah.
It gives the city its natural beauty, and it gave it the natural resources, literally and figuratively, to fuel the industrial era here. What else does it give the city?
What does Appalachia give the city?
Yeah,
I actually didn't figure this out until after the book came out. Somebody wrote to me and pointed out that Pittsburgh, every city is unique in some way, but Pittsburgh is unique because the metropolitan area is the only one in the United States that touches 3 big regions of the country. The United States, the lower 48 are divided into the West, the Midwest, the Northeast, and the South. Well, Pittsburgh's in the Northeast, even though it's a 6-hour drive to the beach. Ohio is where the Midwest begins, and the Mason-Dixon line is right there, and also maybe an hour south. So because of that, all those regions sort of inform our culture in ways we don't even realize, I think. And I believe that we have the work ethic of Midwesterners. We can get in your face like Northeasterners. And we're friendly like Southerners. You say hi to strangers in Pittsburgh. So that's another way that Appalachia informs our culture.
And the other thing that I noticed, being close to Appalachia, I guess, is that people tend to have deeper roots. Family lines go back generations upon generations. I think Pittsburgh, even through its population loss, even through all of that, it still retains that. From I was away for 20, 25 years, and in places like Washington D.C., Raleigh, where family ties weren't so deep.
Right.
A lot of people moving in. D.C. is practically a transient place.
Sure.
And I was struck again by everybody knows everybody in Pittsburgh, the neighborhood structure, etc. Is that truly the essence of Pittsburgh, or what? Aside from its unique position among the four areas, is it really the essence? Is that?
Yeah, in some ways, touching on what you're talking about here, Bill Peduto, the former mayor, said Pittsburghers are like an ethnic group. We have our own food, we have a diaspora, we have our own way of talking. So all those people who left in the 70s and 80s, mostly the 80s, they're still Steelers fans. If you watch a football game, the announcers incorrectly say, "Oh, these Steeler fans travel well." No, they don't. They're already there.
They did travel well.
They did travel,
30
and
years ago.
these are often the children and grandchildren of the people who left in the early 80s. So, yeah, we've got we are a special place.
We're probably it's probably one of the few teams, one of the few cities that has a Steeler bar almost everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
We even heard about one in Rome.
That's right.
I mean, it's amazing. Those deep family ties. In your book, you touched upon that. You gave some incredible examples of that. But you also touched on how that people being in place for so long kind of gives the place an inertia, and even Pittsburgh tends to see things as glass half empty rather than glass half full. I don't want to say that it's a negativity bias, but we're not the most optimistic of people. I think.
Yeah, it's a weird combination of pride and negativity here in Pittsburgh, and there is inertia. I mean, there's no earthly reason why there should be 130 municipalities in Allegheny County. It's designed for an economy that no longer exists. But trying to get any two municipalities to combine is torture. It doesn't happen. So I said this in the book, and I think it's still true. We have more police chiefs in Allegheny County than there are in Montana. We have enough police chiefs. We could have a softball league of nothing but police chiefs. So because we don't combine, and people will argue, well, it's always been like this, therefore it should always be like this. So it's not the most efficient way to go.
So getting something done then is twice as hard.
It is,
as you think, as in other places.
It takes a lot of things take longer here. A friend of mine just opened a great store, the Mayfly Market in what was the Garden Theater.
Okay.
On North Avenue and near Federal Street. And that was empty for like a quarter century because the city couldn't get out of its own way, and the people would argue, and the perfect became the enemy of the good, and things that were supposed to be put in there never did. Thankfully, we have a beautiful store in there now, but it took a quarter century.
So there are changes, and I know that the Garden Theater and the whole North Avenue corridor, the North Side in general, has come 180 degrees, even in those 30 years where there is that inertia. How do people? Is it just that it takes long? People really want to change, and it just takes longer, or is there a new mindset that's forming? Do you see in Pittsburgh?
I think that there is a new mindset forming slowly. We for the first time, Pittsburgh is both the whitest metropolitan area of the 25 or 30 largest metropolitan areas in the country, and not coincidentally has the least immigration. So recently, we've started to get some more immigration. Of course, at a time when the country is turned against immigrants in a crazy way, but Yeah, so we're getting some changes. Like when I bought this house, when I bought in this neighborhood in 1990, everybody who grew up in Pittsburgh said, don't buy on the north side, you'll never get your money back. They were remembering like the 1968 riots from like 20 or more years before. Um, Thankfully, I didn't listen to them. I just wanted to be able to walk to the Pirates games. And it's turned out to be the best investment I'd ever made. And now I couldn't afford to buy in this neighborhood. And that's happened in a lot of other places like Lawrenceville.
It has. The home prices have gone up. They talk about how there's a lot of affordable housing stock in Pittsburgh, in the city itself, but much of that would need significant renovation. In fact, there was I think the new mayor, Corey O'Connor, there was a demolition blitz of some of that old housing stock in the Hilltop, Knoxville, Allentown,
Yeah,
where they demoed a dozen or two houses.
yeah,
So even that housing stock is disappearing slowly.
yeah.
Pittsburgh may be gentrifying itself just by losing its housing.
Yeah, we didn't do a very good job of in fact we did a terrible job of taking houses that might have been livable 10, 20 years ago and getting them into the hands of new owners, and now it's often too late.
Mm. So what could we do then? If you want to go back to that, we talked about a new mindset and how things may be changing, even though it's extremely hard. It takes a long time to get things done.
Yeah.
What do you think, a city that is positioned for 21st century economy, for 21st century challenges, what would it look like?
Well, the one thing that Pittsburgh has going for it, not one thing, but we have many things, the universities and the architecture that's here, but the water. I mean, we have abundant water in a country where the booming cities are running out of water. And fortunately, because of something called the Great Lakes Compact, that water is never going to leave here. All the Great Lakes states have said, if you want our water, you're going to have to move here. So I think Pittsburgh's water, the very thing that fueled its industrial takeoff in the 19th century, is going to be more and more important as the 21st century advances.
So Appalachia to the rescue again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not such a bad place after all, is it?
No, it is not.
Yeah. You mentioned another thing in your book that has put Pittsburgh at a disadvantage, and you talked about the fractured governance, and you talked about how there's an old state law that basically forbids annexation unless both municipalities are passed as a referendum. It has to pass with majority support, etc., and that has kept Pittsburgh small.
Right.
Yeah. What about keeping Pittsburgh small is such a disadvantage? Or has been such a disadvantage?
Well, it's a freakishly small city, 55 square miles, like several cities in the east. If you look at, I talk about this in the book. The red states and some of the blue states, they don't play by our rules in Pennsylvania. They, like in Texas, they make residents out of their commuters whether they like it or not. They just keep annexing.
Okay.
If we were,
they just sprawl. So
yeah,
to speak.
the five of the 10 largest cities in the country have fewer people per square mile than Pittsburgh does now after losing half its people, because we're a real city and they're like counties pretending to be cities. Like San Diego, if we had San Diego's footprint, we'd have 900,000 people in Pittsburgh. But the red states alone, Arizona, Texas, California, Florida, they've annexed the land around them. And so they don't worry about if people are shopping downtown because all the malls are in the city too.
In the city, right.
Yeah. So that's something that Pittsburgh and all the cities in Pennsylvania have to face. It's been in the news thousands of times that the biggest landowners in the city pay no taxes. The nonprofits, universities, and hospitals. So under Corey O'Connor, we're now seeing some money in lieu of taxes going to fire engines and snowplows and ambulances. So that should help a lot.
So, so what you're saying basically is that the suburbs grew, and everybody knows they grew after World War II. But Pittsburgh didn't grow because it ran out of room and couldn't annex more.
And also it was the plan to make it smaller. They leveled entire neighborhoods in the city to build the highways, to build the stadiums, to do all these things, to serve mostly suburbanites now who come in to work or to play. And like people can't figure out, why can't Pittsburgh? Well, because of all the reasons we've been talking about. It's still a great place to live. I love it here. I drive less than 3,000 miles a year because I can walk everywhere.
You get an emissions discount.
Right? Yeah, yeah. You pay a wage tax, but you save because very little money goes out the gas pipe.
Yeah. Some of the trends I think that drove suburban growth. You know, there were families moving out. They wanted newer homes. You know, you talked about the highways that erased entire neighborhoods in Pittsburgh that were basically made them. They were shuttles, shuttle from the suburb to downtown job centers and out. All of those things that put Pittsburgh, the city, at a disadvantage, seem to be reversing. You know, the birth rate has been declining across, you know, here and across the country. People don't need larger houses. They don't have large families. I mean, people are having fewer children. Fewer people are having children.
Right.
Those wonderful highways that they built that were wide open are not so wide open these days. They've become traffic clogged as the suburbs have grown, and there's been more commuting. Gas prices, auto prices, home prices themselves just seem to keep going up.
Right.
So it would seem that all of those trends that were driving people to the suburbs might actually, that exodus might actually be stemmed somewhat. Do you think Pittsburgh is in a position to take advantage of that right now? And if not, if so, great. If not, what do you think it needs to do?
No, I think it is. I mean, in this neighborhood, for instance, when I moved here in 1990, there were a half a dozen vacant houses. By the time I sold this is my third and final house within a quarter-mile radius. By the time I sold the first house, there were no more vacant houses really to fix up in Pittsburgh, and not in Pittsburgh, in Allegheny West. This is a very small neighborhood. We're taking, you know, what used to be abandoned factories, and they're now in this neighborhood alone. There's a lot of them are now apartments. Vacant lots can be apartments. We can infill in a lot of places. There are people who want. I mean, look at what's happened to the Strip District, and it's amazing. So there's places to build, but it's so expensive for new homeowners. What they have to do is do what I did: go to a neighborhood that everybody's telling you not to go to, and I've seen that happen. If we want to talk Pittsburgh, like the book is not just about the city of Pittsburgh. Millvale is basically greater Lawrenceville now. A lot of people have moved to Millvale. There's a lot of instances like that where right outside the city there are nice places to live, Dormonts. There's any number of them, and so people are finding them and living there. And in any other city, they'd still be in the city, but because we have this freakishly small boundaries that were designed for another economy, they're not in the city, but they essentially are. When they travel, they say they're from Pittsburgh.
You said, I think Pittsburgh would be the 9th largest city had it been able to expand and annex, like cities in other regions.
Yeah, if it was the size of San Diego,
which is astounding.
Well, the population is stagnant in the county itself, but we just spread out and we didn't change the borders.
Right.
So, you know, there's a reason we still can support 3 professional sports teams, because there's a lot of people, you know, within 50 miles of where we're talking.
Exactly.
So,
So Pittsburgh needs to work on its housing. It needs to find a way. it needs, the risk of sounding very unpopular, it needs the benefits of gentrification without the displacement. It needs
Yeah.
the infusion of cash, the infusion of investment like that, but find a way to keep the people who are living there,
Right.
and to allow people who are not flush with cash, not very flush with cash, to afford a home.
Yeah. And again, I think people need to look in places that haven't been gentrified yet. And
Yeah.
I was like 30 years ago, I was telling people they should buy on the other side of the park. And now that's gotten so expensive that you can't. But for a while, that was the right move. And the Mexican war streets have traveled up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
And everything in life is a double-edged sword. Gentrification isn't good for everyone. If you're one of the people who can't afford to rent in your old neighborhood, it's a big problem. So, but people, Pittsburghers don't like to cross rivers famously, but they might have to cross a river to find a good home,
yeah.
or a
even
grocery store.
I mean,
Right.
Yeah. So then, given all this, where do you see Pittsburgh in 10 years, 15 years? What do you think it'll?
I don't think it'll be that much different than it is now. I think, like when I grew up on Long Island, when my friends come in the summer for a Mets game or something, they love this. They love being able to, just get around, and they love the way it looks. I think Pittsburgh's going to be okay. But it's got a lot of problems, not least the tax base. But if we can figure out ways to get the big employers, which are the hospitals and universities, to carry their weight, I think we'll be all right. I mean, Boston does it.
And again, the O'Connor administration is off to a strong start.
Yeah, he is. I'm very happy with his first several months.
Yeah, one of the strengths I think that Pittsburgh has that I did not see in the other areas that I lived in was the public-private partnership. Pittsburgh amassed a lot of wealth in its heyday. A lot of that wealth is still here, and the foundations around Pittsburgh are absolutely willing to give. What do you think would be the top 3 areas if we could get public-private partnership? And then downtown, there was a big investment in public-private, and it's starting to pay off. You're starting to see Market Square, Arts Landing. You're starting to see some conversions. What other projects do you think that a public-private partnership might leverage to really help get Pittsburgh on that path to its next chapter?
The best ideas come from the grassroots, not from the top down. Like, this neighborhood has grown from the inside out because people get together and talk and fix things and fight for them. That's what works. What doesn't work are these grand plans that come from above. They're very rarely a good idea.
So in a sense, we're back to the essence of Pittsburgh, which is neighborhoods, ties. Listen to the neighborhoods.
90 neighborhoods in this city.
90 neighborhoods. Yeah.
I remember my first weekend in Pittsburgh. I moved here in '88, and it was more or less law that if you had a white-collar job and you were single, you had to live in Shadyside first. So I had this apartment in Shadyside, and I didn't know how to get around, but I needed like curtains and stuff like this. And there was, so I went to the South Side because I thought there'd be a lot of shops there. So I find this hardware store, and I'm in line buying, I don't know, screws, nails, curtains, whatever. And probably not curtains. And the woman in front of me says to the clerk, "Oh, he married a South Side girl." And I'm like, wow, this neighborhood is like down to that. I mean, this city's down to the neighborhoods at that level, a South Side girl. And like, a friend of mine was in a laundromat in, I don't know, the East End somewhere, like Garfield. And this woman said to him, "You're not from around here, are you?" Then he said, "Yeah, I'm from Bloomfield." "Well, that's not from around here." Yeah, so the levels of neighborhood, I mean, 90 neighborhoods in a 55 square mile city.
Some of which have 200 people in them. That's a block.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Yeah, you're not from around here.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
half a mile away.
Well, this neighborhood, Allegheny West, brags about being the smallest in the city. It's 2 blocks wide and 5 streets deep.
It is the smallest geographic. Yeah, it's not the smallest in population, but it's compact.
Right.
Yeah,
Friendship and us are the two.
Are the tiny, you're the broom closets, right, where people stuffed a ton of brooms in there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you wrote in your preface, your original preface of your book, the 2009 edition, that if you haven't told a hopeful story, that you've done something wrong.
Yeah.
It sounds like that despite Pittsburgh's problems, you have hope. What is it about Pittsburgh that you think will allow it to get past, get around, or overcome all of the fractured government and the inertia and all of that? What do you think about? What is it about Pittsburghers or Pittsburgh that will propel us forward? That really gives you hope.
Well, I think people are basically smart. Maybe, we all have our prejudices and things that hold us back, but it's not going to be one thing. Chris Bream wrote a book, a very good book called Beyond Steel, and it's just about. He talks about it. It can't be just one thing. Like we were totally tied to steel.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of things. It's going to be robotics. It's going to be, who knows what else will come out of the universities.
Right.
It's going to be tourism. It's going to be, which 30 years ago, who would have guessed that? But the Pirates bring in hundreds of thousands of people every summer.
Pirates or the ballpark?
The ballpark. Yeah, the ballpark and the team the Pirates are playing. Yeah. That's what if you look at the jerseys in the stands.
Yeah.
But it's a crazy number. Like more than 30% of the attendees at PNC Park come from out of state.
Yeah. It's rated the most beautiful ballpark. Almost year in, year out.
Yeah.
And there is hope this year. They
did some things right. They finally spent some money.
Yeah, they might get that 30% down to 15, more of a swallow. The thing about tourism, everybody is struck by the beauty of the city. It's one of the things I think I took for granted when I was here. And when I came back, I think I appreciate that more. I think tourism is going to be big. The rivers are clean. They have bass tournaments in the rivers. We have bald eagles. That's a daily bass tournament.
Peregrine falcons.
Yeah.
Herons.
We have wildlife that can actually live in the rivers. I think tourism is going to be huge, and I wonder. Do you think that may lead to more transplants, or do you think tourism will help get the word out in general?
Yeah, I think some people, like in this neighborhood, they visit and then they say, "Why don't I live here?" People have moved here from DC or wherever because it seems. When comparing us, even though things have gotten expensive here, not in comparison to the East Coast. Yeah. So for a lot of people, they can get more house for their money here. It's a much easier place to live. What I talk about in the book is I call it the third bear of cities. It's not too big, not too small, not too hard, not too soft. Yeah. It's kind of just right. And when I lived in Virginia for 10 years, I preferred the pace of life in Virginia, but there were things I missed about New York. And I came here and it had, Major League Baseball, corner bars, people who understood that St. Patrick's Day is a holiday and a sensible pace of life. So, I think that will always attract people. And I think Pittsburgh's going to be fine. It's going to be dealing with all kinds of problems like any other city, but I think it will figure them out.
Thanks for joining us today, Brian, and giving us your perspective on the city.
It was my pleasure, Ken.
For those of you who haven't read the book, it's available at local bookstores across Pittsburgh or available for download from Amazon.
Buy local.
Buy local. But if you're watching this, you're one of the diaspora and you can't afford a ticket to Pittsburgh, it is available for download on Amazon. Details of where and how will be in the show notes. Well, thanks again, Brian.
Thank you, Ken. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
And a beautiful day, too.
It's a beautiful day. You're a true bird whisperer. I think we're all fortunate to be able to call you a neighbor.
Well, I'm fortunate to be here. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thanks.
You can purchase the Paris of Appalachia at any one of these local Pittsburgh bookstores, or you can purchase online at Amazon, or download on the Kindle or your other favorite reader.
Well, that was enlightening. Turns out we're traditionalists at heart, with long memories and deep ties to the city, who understand that facing new challenges means adapting our traditions to fit the new chapter we're writing. It might take us a while to agree on the path forward, but we always find a way. And we're always true to our traditions, even if we bend them a little bit now and then. With that in mind, our first neighborhood stop is the South Side, which we'll be exploring in our next episode. Hope to see you there. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your own journey today.
We hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you want to learn more about the stories being created around Pittsburgh, sign up for our newsletter on Substack. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn to keep up with the conversation around the Steel City. Until next time, we'll see you online.